I felt so lightheaded and I actually felt like I was going to faint. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my first semester clinical experience. I did mention in my previous video, which I will make sure to link in the description box below, that I do have clinical rotations my very first semester. Before I begin though, I would like to apologize for my nails because I'm in the process of taking off all my fake nails because I'm going to be starting nursing school on Tuesday and these have got to go. So the process isn't really pretty. Bear with me. I don't like it myself and it's really hard to rip them off. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So with us having clinicals our very first semester, we're nervous, we don't know what to expect, so in order to prepare us, my program has us do like a month and a half of concepts lab. There we learned tons and tons of nursing skills, anything from how to insert an enema, how to insert a catheter, wound care, perineal care, bed baths, bed making, etc. Like the list just goes on and on. We had learned so many skills in that lab. And every week we were assigned to watch about 20 to 27 videos, each lasting anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes long, just over the many different nursing skills that we just had to know. And then whenever lab came along, we were able to practice some of those skills that we watched in the videos, but we would mainly focus on the skills that we were going to get checked off on. So I did mention a little bit about checkoffs in my previous video, but that was for assessment checkoffs, and concepts checkoffs are a little bit different. So for concepts, we had 3 different checkoffs. We had wound care, NG tube insertions, and medication administration. So you had 15 minutes to complete each one of those. You have a time slot, you have a day that you had to go, and just my luck, I was the first person on the first day to go. Yeah. It was actually my first checkoffs to do ever in nursing school, so I was extremely terrified and I didn't know what to expect, but I passed all 3 of my checkoffs the very first time and I am super grateful for it. So then I was able to go to the hospital. So now moving on to the hospital part, my clinical group went to the hospital on Wednesdays from like 6:30 to 2:30, so roughly about 8 hours we were there, and we did clinical rotations on 3 different units. We went on patient floors, the operating room, and the emergency room. So I'm going to start talking about patient floors first, just because that's very fluffy and I did spend the largest amount of clinical time on that floor. So basically on patient floors, we were able to do any of the 3 things that we did get checked off on, along with any basic care. So that includes bed baths and bed making and assisting patients on a bedpan, etc., etc. We were not allowed to do an IV push, we were not allowed to insert a catheter or insert an IV or anything super fancy like that. So it was just super basic care. And then 2 weeks before clinicals was about to end, we actually got certified to use the glucometers, which is basically whenever you prick a patient's finger, you check their blood to see how much sugar they have, and then that would determine whether or not they get insulin. So I was also able to give shots. I did give several shots throughout my whole entire clinical experience. Most of them were subcutaneous shots, and one of them was an intramuscular shot. All of my subcutaneous shots were anticoagulants, and then my IM was an influenza shot. So if you ever get the flu,
hit your homegirl up, yeah.
I'm just kidding, I'm not gonna give you guys a shot, but yeah, I thought it was a really cool experience. It definitely feels really weird giving someone a shot. It was just a different, I don't know, it was just a weird feeling. I can't even explain it. But so every week that we were on patient floors, we did have to do a care plan. I don't want to touch up on a care plan and how I did my care plans, because every program, I'm pretty sure, has their own requirements on how you can pass your own care plans. But basically, a care plan is just an overview of your patient and your goals and intervention that will help the patient improve on your clinical shift. I personally had to do one every single time I was on a patient floor, and along with that, I had to do a medication worksheet that just listed all the medications my patient was on, and I had to fill out why that patient was getting that specific medication. And I feel like that is super important. You always want to be asking, no matter what semester you are in, every single time you go into the hospital, you should always be asking yourself, why is this patient getting this medication? How is it going to help my patient? You always want to ask that why question, because that's just going to help you critically think, and that's what's what's going to make you an excellent nurse. And if you're a why person at life like myself, this is the perfect time to ask that question. Typically, you would visit your patient and review their chart one day before you go to do your clinical shift, and you would just review their medical condition, make sure you fully understand it, make sure you fully understand all the medications you are going to be giving your patient the next day. And if you don't understand, then this is your time to ask your instructor, to ask a nurse, and to do your research on it so that you thoroughly understand, and that's just going to help you grow your knowledge. And so definitely know what you are doing and understand why you are doing it. So from my personal experience, all of my patients range from the ages 90 to 98. So I had the lovely senior citizens. Overall, my experience was very good. And just because I say it was very good doesn't mean that I did not have a patient who was not difficult. I did have a patient who was a little bit difficult, but I felt like that is necessary in order for anyone to get a very good and realistic experience in the clinical setting. Because let's be honest, whenever you guys graduate and you start working as a nurse, you guys are not always going to get patients who are handy dandy and who are very compliant and things like that. There are going to be some patients that are going to be a little bit difficult, but you always have to think that this might be the first time this person is dealing with something and they maybe don't know how to cope with it very well. Or this could be the millionth time that they are having to deal with something and they are just super tired. So the best thing that you can do is just be patient and be there for them. So I am super grateful that I got that experience and that it was very realistic. So I was able to see what it actually is to be a nurse. So yes, I had a difficult patient, but I do feel like that made my experience a whole lot better than just getting all easy patients, because I was able to see how I would react in situations like that. So my overall experience was great. So moving on to the OR, that is the operating room. We were there for 1 day, so 1 week, and basically there we shadowed an OR nurse, and if we were lucky we would be able to see multiple surgeries, but most of us only got to see one surgery. I saw one really cool surgery, and the nurses are so amazing there. I loved them so much. They were so knowledgeable and they taught me so much, and I loved seeing how they prep everything. How they prep the room, they prep the patient, they do the procedure, and they end the procedure. Like, everything was just super structured, and it was very good to see that process. And the number one thing that I got out of the OR was sterile technique, which is super important, especially when you are going to be involved in a surgical procedure, because our body can't handle lots of outside bacteria coming into us, because that would just lead to a lot of complications, and that's what we don't want. So yeah, the most interesting thing that happened while I was at the OR is I'm the type of person who can tough something out, and but what I mean by that is I can see the most goriest of things and it doesn't faze me. I'm fine. But and every nurse has this, I don't care who you are, but every nurse has something that will make them like kind of twitch and just be like, ugh, I can't, like, I don't really like seeing that or smelling that or whatever it is. And for me, it is smells. Certain smells make me feel a certain way. And I don't know if you guys have ever smelt burning flesh, but as soon as I smelt that, I was like, I felt so lightheaded, and I actually felt like I was going to faint. So I had to hold on to something, and I was thinking to myself, oh my god, girl, you cannot faint in front of all these people. Like, you gotta tough it out. So then I tried so hard to just focus myself and just not think about that smell and not focus on it, and thank goodness I did not faint. But I swear I was like this close on fainting. Definitely a sensation I will not forget. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the OR, and the reason is just because I was there for 8 hours, but I was just able to see one specific condition. It wasn't a variety like on patient floors. So yeah, moving on to the ER. So the ER, and before I begin on talking about the ER, I know that there are many people out there, and I was guilty of this, that think that the ER is just where you're gonna see people with dangling arms and dangly fingers and their hands in meat grinders and them holding a bomb or having a bomb inside of them, like Grey's Anatomy portrays it to all of us. I know, sad moment, because it's not like that. It is definitely not like that. There are so many different aspects to the emergency room, and I just feel like the TV just shows us that one side, like the really crazy side of the emergency room. But there were different pods in the emergency room that I was able to do my clinicals in. One of them was life-threatening situations. The second one was situations that were serious but that were not life-threatening. The third one was mental conditions that patients had. Maybe they were trying to attempt suicide and things like that. And the fourth one, to be honest, I don't really remember. I don't think I walked into that pod, but yeah. And I loved the ER. The ER is amazing. Before this clinical, I thought that I would never see myself working as an ER nurse, but I absolutely loved the ER. I loved the energy that it gave off. You are constantly on your toes. You constantly have something to do, and you see a variety of conditions. It's not just focused onto one thing. So I feel like whenever you are exposed to more things, you have the advantage of expanding your knowledge immensely, and I loved it. The nurses were amazing, and I just loved being constantly kept on my toes and constantly critically thinking, and I feel like that's where I learned a lot, even though it was just one day that I was there. So I loved the ER. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. But yeah, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you guys did, make sure to give it a nice big thumbs up. Also subscribe to my channel if you are not already, or if you would like to see more nursing videos. Don't forget to click on the last 2 videos that I have made. I will make sure to link that down as well, so feel free to watch it. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!